everybody. I am back with another stitch along with my wonderful 12 Days of Christmas pattern here by Jim Shore. So I am so excited by the way that this little soldier turned out. I love his plaid. I just think he's darling, and even the crazy little bagpipes here, they worked out okay. You know, there's an awful lot of lines coming down to the same point as far as backstitching, but it looks good. So I'm just going to fill in a little more background around this guy, and then you can see I've got my thread waiting for more of the outlining. But today I actually wanted to talk a little bit, just because, so hopefully you don't mind that. But yeah, so I think I'll start off, if you don't mind, with a tiny, I guess you could call it a complaint. I don't want to get in the habit of doing that, you know, because everyone has, you know, their own things that go on, just random little things that annoy you and stuff. And you probably come to YouTube to get away from that and to enjoy yourself. So all I'm going to say is that this is just weather related. And it's a little bit frustrating because I am a fan of snow. And I can say that because I don't get it very often. So a lot of people across the country get inundated with snow on a regular basis, and to them it's a dirty four-letter word. So I cannot make any comparisons to people who live in those climates. So here in the Pacific Northwest, where I live, we have this very annoying, predictable weather pattern where they'll give you an extended forecast and it'll call for snow. And it, you know, day after day after day, it shows snowflakes and snowflakes. And so I, of course, get all excited. And of course, I don't really believe that it's going to snow as much as they say, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing at least some flakes in the air and maybe a gentle dusting on the ground. So that's what I was looking forward to. So for like 2 weeks now, I've been watching the forecast, and every single time I see it, it's calling for snow. Days and days of snow, which in our case is probably like 5 or 6 days in a row of snow. And again, I took that with a grain of salt, but again, I was looking forward to at least a few flurries and a little dusting. So here comes the weather pattern. So for us, it warms up and rains, and it gets cold and dry. And you cannot break that pattern. I mean, I don't care what system is coming in from the northern tundra or whatever. No, it doesn't matter. It's going to warm up and rain. And so sure enough, I just looked right now at the extended forecast, and it's all just a mix of rain and snow, and mostly rain. And of course, the rain is going to be crazy. Like one day it calls for like an inch of rain. And I realize that in the Pacific Northwest, it rains a lot. And yes, it's true. But my God, that's a lot for a 24-hour period. But anyway, so sure enough, all my little snow flurries are gone out of the forecast, and it's going to warm up and rain. And then some of the nights where it's below freezing, it'll be dry. Don't worry. Don't worry your pretty little heads. It'll be dry. So anyway, I just find that endlessly frustrating. And, you know, I keep, like I said, hearing about all these weather systems and these weather patterns, and oh, there's a big, you know, they'll show like this big ice cold stream coming out of the north, and it's covering our whole state, you know, And yet somehow, no, don't worry. Don't worry. It won't give you snow. So anyway, that was a disappointment. Although, again, weather patterns, I'm used to it. I've lived here most of my life. I am very familiar. And then the other thing is that the time of year, I mean, it is extremely rare. It's extremely rare to have a white Christmas. And that's at the end of December, let alone late November, early December. So, I mean, had it truly snowed, it would have been an anomaly. But still, I was looking forward to it, especially because now I don't have to drive that much, certainly not on a daily basis anymore. And so I was like, hey, fine, I'm home alone, or not home alone, but I mean, I'm home and safe and warm and dry and comfortable, and I don't need to go anywhere. And so in my mind, it was perfect to snow. Go ahead. I'll just look at it through the window. So, and then my husband has the ability to work from home if he needs to. And then if he has to go in, his coworker and buddy lives, probably less than a mile away. And he's got a real rugged Jeep kind of thing that he can drive. And so they've done that before in the past years. Like our first winter here, we got a big snow. And he definitely had to commute with his friend multiple days during all of that. But anyway, so like I said, it's a disappointment. I would have enjoyed it. Not going to happen. And again, I'm not surprised at all because I've lived here long enough. But whatevs. And then I did on YouTube, I found a video that showed a snowstorm. It was like a time lapse of this big parking lot, probably at someone's apartment complex. And they live in Buffalo, New York. So they had this video of their parking lot just literally filling up like a swimming pool with snow. It was crazy. So I saw snow, but it just wasn't here. So, and of course, I feel for those people. I mean, when I ask for snow, I am talking about flakes in the air and a pretty little dusting on the ground. I am not talking about lake effect snow where you get 5 feet. No, thank you. And of course, I mean, it's not even officially winter yet, so there's still plenty of time for us to see that. So anyway, so that was my tiny complaint. Hopefully it wasn't triggering for anyone. I think I handled it well and all that. So I try to be civilized when I'm on here. So, what else? Oh, it's just, just to follow up since we're talking about weather is, today, sure enough, it was gorgeous earlier. And then the clouds started rolling in and now it's raining and big blustery wind. So that's interesting. Because 3 hours ago, it was gorgeous. Well, what am I saying? It was like, yeah, it was 3 hours ago. It was very beautiful. So anyway, changes quickly, I guess. So, yeah. So what else was I going to talk about? Well, we, in an effort to economize, we took a look at our television service and realized that we were paying just an exorbitant amount of money for things that we weren't really even taking advantage of. So our TV watching hours were so minimal on a weekly basis, and yet we had everything under the sun to watch. So we decided to cancel that service and go for a different one, much, much less expensive one. So, generally, I don't miss the previous service, but there are things about it that I do miss. So I can't lie and say that, that I'm 100% thrilled, but it is what it is. And guess what? We still don't watch that much TV, considering, the 3 adults in the house and all of that. We spend most of our time on all of our devices. So anyway, we made a switch, and I don't get local anything anymore, which is fine-ish, but definitely something to get used to. And then we have a whole bunch of, we have Hulu, and we have Netflix, and we have Stars, and we have HBO, and, so we have all these different services. And of course, you know how it is. You'll find a show you really want to watch, but it's only streaming on Paramount Plus, or it's only streaming on Peacock, or, whatever. So even though we have a bunch, there's still many more that we don't have. But I have been, when it's, quiet and everyone else is in bed and asleep and everything, I will do a lot of stitching and immerse myself in some show or movie or whatever. So I have been watching quite a few movies lately and also just random series. So I found many good things, some surprising things, because, you find a lot of kind of not as popular movies. A lot of them are subpar. They're definitely lower quality films for sure, with a bunch of no-name actors and all of that stuff, and kind of bad writing, So there's a lot of junk out there. But there's also some surprises. So I have found a few surprises that I really liked. And like I said, we have so many different services. I can't guarantee where I've seen all these things, but I will highly recommend, and I believe this is Hulu. In fact, I'm 98% sure that it's Hulu, but it's a series called The Old Man with Jeff Bridges. God, is that ever a good show? I mean, it really is one of the best shows I've ever seen on TV. I mean, I can say that with zero hesitation. I would almost argue that it's the best show I have ever seen in my entire life. That seems like high praise, but if you watched it or do watch it, you'll understand why I say that. So it is smart. It is engaging. It is exciting. It's clever, but it doesn't make you feel like an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of these shows try so hard to be mysterious that you don't even know what the hell you're watching. So it isn't that bad, but it's just so good. And all I can say is I recommend it. And of course, it's not for children. There really isn't much sexual content or nudity, but there is certainly violence and language. So, but I bet children would be bored to tears watching this because, they wouldn't understand the intense scenes and the coded conversations, they'd just be bored. So they probably wouldn't watch it anyway, but just in case, I have to say that it's definitely rated R. But it's excellent, and I recommend it. So, and of course, that one wasn't a sleeper hit, shall we say. It was very well known, and lots of buzz about it online and everything. So it was definitely worth watching. And it has been cleared for a second season, although in real life, I know that poor Jeff Bridges has been battling cancer, and I'm not sure the status on his health. So I pray that he comes through that and is, is able to heal and move on. But I guess we'll have to see. So anyway, the first season is out in its entirety. And if you have Hulu, then please, I recommend watching it. So there's that one. And then I just last night, and I can't remember what it was called because I just stumbled across it and figured, I'll turn it on. And I got completely engrossed in it. And it was, I don't think it's BritBox because we do have that. Oh, I know. It was because it was a BBC show. And of course, you know how that is. By the time us Americans see it, it's, a couple years old. But it stars Olivia Cooke, who is a very fabulous young actress. I think she's doing that. She's one of the actors in that House of the Dragon, or whatever that one series is, that based on Game of Thrones. So she's in that. And she also did, The Bates Motel, which, oh gosh, absolutely one of my top favorite series ever. I actually own the whole series because I loved that show. And so in that show, Olivia played Emma, and she was in pretty much every episode, all the seasons. So she was a major character. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So Olivia Cooke, and it was a, limited series, if you will. So it was 3 or 4 parts, and it really was very, very well done. And I'll have to look it up and find out what it was called, because I don't even remember now, but I ended up getting roped into that late last night and stayed up until the wee hours of the morning. And that's another thing I could mention, is that I am so backwards on sleeping. And I already have insomnia. And so when insomnia hits, forget about it. You're just up until whenever, And obviously I hate that. But so I don't know last night if it was kind of insomnia based, plus staying up late and watching that show. And then I personally am very, very, very emotional person. And so without saying much, I can tell you that that movie or that show I watched had me in tears by the end, of course. And so I had to have a small cry, late at night, everyone's asleep and I'm sitting there crying by myself. So that was kind of sad. But, so I had to have a good little cry, and then I had to go wash my face and pull myself together and, So it took a little while to kind of gain my footing and then try to go to bed. So anyway. But luckily, I was woken up early by someone pounding somewhere in the neighborhood, because I have mentioned before that our neighborhood is almost like a strip mall as far as activity during the day. So that wasn't good. So I woke up with a real nasty headache, and I still have a trace of it left. Stitching probably isn't the smartest thing I could be doing right now, but gosh darn it, I want to. So I will. But yeah. So here's something stitching related. I of course follow Teresa from her channel, Teresa Little Stitcher. And she has, you know, almost, I think she either has almost 20,000 followers or she's right at the edge of getting that much. But she is fabulous if you don't already know her. And I highly recommend checking her out. But she had been talking in a live stream about a week ago or so that she wants to do a New Year, New Start stitch along. And so, of course, everybody watching the live was all excited, and I got excited, and they were all voting back and forth. What should we call it? What should the hashtag be? So anyway, yesterday's video, because today's Monday, so yesterday on Sunday, and she lives in the UK, so she tries to, you know, do her lives when the timing is best for viewing around the world, if that makes sense, since she's got lots of people in the States who follow her for sure. And of course, lots of other people in the UK and then beyond that as well. So she has quite a following, and she tries to make sure that she does a live when a lot of people can tune in. I, of course, missed it because guess what? I was sleeping. And anyway, so I didn't see the live, but I watched it like 2 hours after it ended. So I was still on the same day. But in that one, she said that it's going to be called Teresa Made Me Do It. That's the name of the stitch along. Teresa Made Me Do It. And so I'm sure that's going to be the hashtag. And then that way we can all follow each other. As far as progress, you can see here, let me move it in. I'm drinking illegal coffee while I'm filming, and I say illegal because you're not supposed to be eating or drinking around your stitching, but I am. So let me get a few more swigs here. I really do not like cold coffee. So anyway, so Teresa Stitch Along, that's what it's called. It's going to start obviously January 1st. Wait, I have to count something. 8. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. So yeah, so I wanted to definitely be a part of it. And her plan is to stitch the very latest Bella Filipina chart, which is called Magwin or something like that. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation, but it is a beautiful pattern. And I have never, believe it or not, never stitched a Bella Filipina. I've stitched multiple Mirabilias over the years, but I have never stitched a Bella. So I went ahead, I decided not to do the Magwin, the same one, as a start. So I picked the Tala pattern, Tala, the deity of the sun or the deity to the morning, or I'm not exactly sure what deity she is, but anyway, her name is Tala, T-A-L-A, and she's part of kind of a set of 3, but they're easily stitched individually, so I'm just stitching her. And so I ordered that, and it's coming hopefully by the end of this week, but obviously I have plenty of time all the way up until January to get it. But then Teresa also mentions that she keeps referring to it as the Fancy Lady Sal. And because she says, you know, you can really stitch any lovely lady pattern that you have. You know, she can be a fairy, she can be a mermaid, she can just be a pretty lady. In my case, I'll be stitching the deity. You know, so you get to choose what you want, and maybe it's even a whip that you have, and you know, you really want to bring it out again and continue stitching or finish it or whatever. So she's very open-ended about what you can do during the stitch along, but it's just a fun thing, a way for everybody to stitch together and share share everybody's process and projects and pictures. And so anyway, I got all excited and wanted to be a part of it. And so that's the one I'm planning on doing. And, oh my God, I finally found that website again where you can, and of course I can't remember what it's called. Oh dear. It's really bad when your memory falters because guess what? Then you can't tell people things. But anyway, it's a website where they have a bunch of different hand-dyed fabrics and a bunch of different designs from all different designers. And you get to do a mock-up. So you pick, like, let's just say it's Mirabilia Zelda. That's a well-known pattern. So you're going to stitch Zelda, but you don't know what fabric you should stitch her on. Well, you can pull the drop-down menu down. You pick Zelda and a picture with no background. A picture pops up of that chart. And then another drop-down menu lets you pick a hand-dyed fabric. And they've got, Picture This Plus and Fiberlicious and Bee Stitch Me and Fabrics by Stephanie and all these different dyers and all their inventory of hand-dyed colors. So then you pull up a color and that picture of Zelda, the background changes. And the background becomes that hand-dyed fabric that you selected. And so there you are. You get a little mock-up of what the two are going to look like together. And I'm going to put in some samples here on the video of some of the ones I found. And I'll talk about those projects after you see the pictures that I had. So here they are. All right, so you got to see that one of my Bella Filipinas is that Temptress of the Dark Seas, or whatever that's called. Again, I'll have to look it up so I have the proper name. But I just thought she was very dramatic and really lovely. So when I bought the Tala, I also bought the Temptress. But anyway, I found, the jack-o'-lantern fabric that the sample stitch was done on, meaning the picture from the chart itself shows it on jack-o'-lantern fabric. That's the color name. And you can still order that color. And of course, it's fabulous and it's dark and mysterious and, very striking. But I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to introduce orange into everything. And so I decided to look at some other color choices on that website. So that's what those photos are. And a couple of them would look, I think all of them would look good, but yeah, so now I just need to decide which one I'd like to do. And if I can control myself and only get 1 or 2 pieces of fabric, that would be great. But my God, you talk about falling down a rabbit hole. It's impossible. And I think I already have the fabric I'm going to do Tala on, so I didn't even look for a different color for her. But yeah, so, and the problem, now I get overwhelmed quite easily because I do have, you know, some fabric still in my stash. And of course, the vast majority of it is just factory colors, you know, like I might have a piece of, what is that one that's so popular? Like Star Sapphire, you know, I probably have some Star Sapphire linen, and I probably have, you know, a little bit of purplish fabric, the Jobelin, and just, you know, different things like that. But I don't have a lot of hand dyeds. So, you know, the problem though is that individually, they're not bad. You know, you're like, oh, this beautiful piece is $25. Okay, I'll get that, you know. But then you're like, oh, but I want this, and oh, but what about that, and oh. And before you know it, you've got more than $100 worth of fabric in your cart. And then you have to try to whittle it down, and then I whittle it down so much that I just figure to myself, well, what's the point? And then I just get disgusted and leave without buying anything. So yeah, I really need to get over myself and just be a grown-up and buy 1 or 2 pieces and walk away. I'm sure the company isn't going to go under, you know, without me. So they'll be there when I want to come back for another piece. But yeah, so that's what was happening last night. I got very greedy very quick and got overwhelmed and then had to leave. So when I'm feeling more mature, I can try again. But anyway, the bottom line is I would love to get some input. 1, 2, 3. So if you guys want to let me know, I numbered the color options and stuff so that you could easily just say, oh, definitely number 2, or, you know, you should absolutely do number 4, whatever it is, you know. I would love for some input, because there's, like I said, multiple options that I think all of them could do pretty well. So you're going to have to excuse me while I try to count properly. I love this little drum, but there are some very distinct diagonal lines here that I want to capture realistically. That red one doesn't look right, but whatevs. You know I'm not going to go back and restitch it, so we'll leave that as is. And this one goes all the way up here, I think. Yes. Oh, I have a quick little text here from my daughter. Okay. She is out with my mom, and they are doing some Christmas shopping. And she had a question about sizes on clothes. So anyway. All right. So yeah, but like I said, I just want a little bit of help picking some fabric. And I would love it if you guys would give your input and vote for, you know, and if you really like a couple choices, maybe you could rank them in order of how much you like them. Like, you know, you could say, oh, number 3 is my first choice, but number 2 would also look really pretty, or just, you know, something like that. So that'll just kind of help me because, you know, why not? And I mean, when it comes to hand-dyed fabrics, they're all beautiful, you know. I mean, you'd have to try to make it look bad. You know what I'm saying? So I think pretty much any choice I make out of those that I showed you are going to work out just fine. So, and then of course, the other thing to try to remember is that the different types of fabric will take the dye differently. And I personally have always preferred even weaves. Like all my Mirabilias that I've ever stitched are like maybe 2 of them I did on linen, and then all the rest were done on even weaves of various sorts. But they always tell you, of course, that the colors will show up best on linen, second best, but still beautiful on Aida, and then you just don't know what it'll look like on the even weave. They get very light and sometimes real grayed down, you know. I don't know. But if you're looking for intensity of color, your best bet really is to choose a linen for stitching. But that's just my experience. So let's see now, more careful counting, or at least I got to make sure I'm setting these stripes up correctly. So, but anyway, so that's pretty much my little story for today. Obviously not fascinating stuff, but I just felt a little gabby, so I thought I would talk through this one. But yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed this little stitch along. This is my very last set of little characters out of all the 12 days, and I'm actually sad that I'm reaching the end because I am having a ball stitching these little guys. So it is a little sad to be done with that, but believe me, there's plenty more stitching. So I'll still work on this one for sure. I think I might switch out to something different. That's another thing that you may or may not know about me, is that I for sure am what kind of a stitcher? I'm an emotional stitcher. If anybody follows the Stitchy Witch, she was talking recently about the way that she stitches, and I was like, girl, you are my spiritual twin, because I feel the same way, you know. I stitch on what speaks to me and what excites me at the moment. And, you know, that's why I hesitate in setting little goals for myself, because you know, I just, who knows what I'll be in the mood for, you know? And it's like, if I have some little chart that tells me, oh, I'm sorry, you know, you want to stitch on your long dog, but today is Mira Day or whatever, and then I have to stitch on a Mirabilia, and it's like, I don't know. And then I'm just most likely to not stitch at all, which is no good. So knowing that about myself, I just embrace it and stitch whatever I want whenever I happen to feel like it. So there's not a lot of rhyme or reason, and I don't have any projects currently that are meant as gifts for anyone. So that also frees me up to stitch on anything I like. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, nothing saps the joy out of a craft like deadlines, you know. It's like, wait a minute, I don't want a deadline on my hobby. You know, this is meant for fun and relaxation, you know. So that's why I try not to structure it too much, because then to me it'll start feeling like work. I'm sure many of you can appreciate that. All right, that was my final stitch for right now. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you also kind of like this setup. I know that when I'm watching someone else stitch, I definitely like to be close up to the work. And so my goal is always to give you a close but comfortable view of what I'm doing. So hopefully I am achieving that. But anyway, I hope you guys that are having fun wherever you are. I hope that you are enjoying your stitching and enjoying the colder weather and the winter season to come. For me, that's my favorite time of year. So I'm happy to be moving towards that. But anyway, I will be back again, I'm sure, very soon with another stitch video. And I do need to show you, I want to make just a little quickie video where I show you my finished stitch. It's been finished for a couple weeks now. I just need to iron it and get it looking presentable, and then I can share it with you all. So hopefully that is going to be a little goal of mine. I will work to make that happen. So, but then that'll be a pleasure to show you that. So anyway, until that happens, you guys take care, have fun stitching wherever you are, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.